up nicely. It's the Drew and Fuse Show. The Drew and Fuse Show. The Drew and Fuse Show. Yeah, they clean up nicely. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
What's up?
Punk's in the building today. Hey, what's happening, Fuse?
It's early. Are you sleepy?
Oh my god, dude. I'm trying to pound this like straight just out of the
What is that, Jägermeister?
No, it is
Kind of looks like it.
It's like a Starbucks cold brew. It comes just like in this
Right.
can.
Right.
Over ice. It's pretty delicious. It's not too pricey.
Got it. All right. Well, we've got some limited time today, and we don't want to waste anybody's time. But real quick, if you are watching and you're not using direct music service, you can use the code Drew and Fuse Show to get 30% off your first month at direct music service. So if you wanted to sign up, use that code. It'll get you 30% off, and you'll get all the good edits on there. Also, we have an affiliate link in the comments below that is for the Photo Booth Supply Company. If you're in the market for a photo booth, make sure you check that out. Also, once again, as always, this podcast is not sponsored by Liquid Death. So, you know, we're looking for that Liquid Death sponsorship. There you go. And we're just going to get right into it. All three of our guests today have been on the show, and they are the creators for the DJ Collective, and we're having them on to talk a little bit about the DJ Collective. Blah, blah, I can't talk. The DJ Collective. So help us welcome Jason, Jani, Brian B., and Joe Bunn.
Hello, boys.
Hey, guys.
Oh, wow. Brian B's even got the Liquid Death going.
Dang. Brian B.
Virgin drinking experience with this right now. I've never had it.
Wow.
I had to like see if they even had it at the store, and they did.
Oh, they do at Publix. Publix has a whole freaking stack of it.
When you buy that, when you buy that, does someone like scan? They're like scan it by, and they're like,
they never know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I leave my condo building and like I'll have one in my hand and like somebody will be like, I need to get on what you're doing. And I'm like, it's just water.
It's water. Right.
He's like, come on, Susan. Let's
Susan.
We had some people over at our house this weekend, and one of them's assistant principal, and he said that all of the kids are trolling all of the teachers now, just walking around with cans and watching all the older teachers just freak out. No, they're drinking alcohol.
That's awesome.
I would probably do the same thing if I was a kid in school.
Of course you would. So would I.
Well, I'm excited to kind of have you guys on. I'm excited to come to the DJC this year. I have never been, and I'm really looking forward to it because Drew and others that I know have, said nothing but really good things. And I've even noticed, watching people and following people online on social media that, I've seen them before they've gone to the DJC, and I've seen their business and their posts and everything after the DJC. And it just seems like, even from what they're showing, that they've learned and gained so much. So I'm really excited to come and be a part of it.
Dude, we're excited you're going to be there this year. I promise you're going to love it. It's an experience, man. It's an experience. That's what Jason says.
Yeah. So my first question would be to you guys. And what do you hope a first timer like myself, what is your goal of somebody like me coming? What would you like to see?
I think the biggest thing about the DJs, or what makes the DJC incredibly special, is it's really the community. Now, there's a lot of people that go to a lot of conferences and events and meetups and retreats and all the things that go on in our industry, all of which have their place and all of which have their purpose. I think what makes DJC very, 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 very special is the experience that people have when you bring a close circle of more or less like-minded people together that all are looking to climb up the ladder in some way, shape, or form. I just think there's magic in the content that's released, the events that we all are part of, and the conversations that take place, not even in session, like in between all the sessions. I think that's what makes it really, really unique. And then on top of that, we also have this small circle of other people that join us at the DJC experience. They all are decision makers in their own world. So DJC is like something that a lot of people going to benefit from, not just from creating new relationships and learning and experiencing something different and just showing you the what is possible. I think DJC is probably one of the only shows that I know of that the community as a whole end up gaining opportunity in terms of events or potential, things in the future where there's like actual business being done as kind of like the cherry on top of the icing, so to speak, at the event, which just makes it just awesome, and plus you get to hang out with us.
Right. And also, in my understanding, it's not just DJs that are there too, right? You have event planners and people that are booking for brides and grooms and events and this and that too. So you're putting the DJs in front of potential, clients.
That's true. And I think that's what really makes it different, right? That a lot of DJ shows as a whole, except for one or two, have like it's just DJ focused, and Brian has been a curator of learning opportunities for the overall DJC experience, and I think it's very unique because we're not just listening to other DJs talk about what they've done and how they've done it. We're talking to people in other verticals within the event world or even outside of the event world, and they're talking about how they did it, what they had to go through. Last year we had Brian was able to pull in Jesse Itzler, who is, just a monster. And this dude got on stage, and when he was off, I'm like, not only was I like pumped, I wanted to like go run a marathon. I wanted to go like start a new business. I wanted to fly in a private plane. I mean, like I wanted all these things at one time because the way this man spoke about his experiences and how everyone told him no, but he just found a way to kind of get through it all. And I feel like the inspiration there is just something that really just sets it apart. I mean, just awesome.
At the end of that speech, me and Joe were sitting in the back, and I looked over and I'm like, I'm not crying, you're crying. And we were both like, had like tears in our eyes. And I'm like kind of laughing about it, but it was really emotional. It was like a touching, journey and speech. It was very inspirational.
And no slides. I mean, he just went off.
Yeah. And not to dig in, that's really what it's all about. We consciously go out of our way to create learning and entertainment experiences that you are not going to find anywhere within our industry, anywhere. Like these people don't speak to DJs. They don't do it. And yeah, we do have that. We've done that in the past, but like we are so conscious that you're not going to see like a duplicate, at this thing and this thing and this thing. And whether it's from someone DJing with us or someone speaking to us, we try to like really curate this experience that is it's an anomaly in the overall mix of options for the learning opportunities within our world. And it's not just wedding guys, it's nightlife guys. There's radio guys, there's production guys, there's Drew Pierce, right? Like you have everybody, right? And that's really what it's all about. You have these just really, really awesome people all in one space.
And Fuse, like somebody like you is somebody that I know for me personally, like I'm trying to target like people who would never step foot in a learning opportunity like this, or just like any kind of meetup like this. Like you're, for me, the win, right? Like people like you getting you together, because where are you else are you going to get people who don't go to those kinds of things to in a room or in an area where you can share some experience. I've learned things from people I had never met previously. And I'm like, wow, I had no idea that they've never gone to anything before, and they're still grossing crazy amount of money. They're doing crazy things that you would never think of. And you're just like, wow, that actually, there's people out there crushing it.
I actually want to talk about this and lead into something. So I had never been to a conference period until the DJC. This was the first DJC. This was in Austin, and you guys kind of reached out to me and see if I wanted to come, which I still don't know why you did, but I'm grateful that you did. And I only went no joke aside, because me and my wife had never been to Austin before. So I was like, oh, let's just go to Austin and I'll go meet up with these guys afterwards and then we'll leave. And it ended up changing my life. And I'm not even saying that like kind of jokingly, working with people all across the country. I do stuff for Brian and traveling, and I was never doing this stuff before. And so it's been had a huge impact on me. It is my favorite show of the year. I look forward to it every year. I think I signed up as you guys announced it. So maybe you could talk about the beginnings of this and what you've made this evolve for the people that aren't aware of it. What got you guys all together and what made you decide to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you how I came, thinking about something like this. It was really just on a plane. Actually, no, it was on a bus from DJ Expo in Atlantic City. So this is the end of August, and I'm sending my accountant like all of my expenses, and this is the last show of the year for us at the time. And I'm going, man, I'm looking at this going, I just spent $10,000 all in on shows, and these were at that time just DJ shows, really. I don't know. I just felt like there was something missing still. Like there was a bar that was not being met that could be, or I don't know, just possibilities. And so that's when I was literally on the bus texting Joe and Jason. I was like, hey, I have this idea. What do you guys think if we were to try to do something? And I wish I could find that thread now, but it was funny because they were like, oh, next year, that sounds good. And I'm like, no, let's do it this year, like in like 3 months, if we just took a couple days. And then we threw around some ideas on places, and Austin was, and part of that is that reason is that we want to go to places that people don't go to normally. Everybody goes to Vegas, everybody goes to Atlantic City, and we thought that was just a cool town. I had only been there once, and it was like for a gig, so I didn't really know the city well. And I'm hearing that to this day, stuff like going to Nashville. A lot of people have never been, and so like, cool, we get to kind of check off some of these spots. But anyway, that was kind of the origins of it, and then we all just kind of threw in some names, and I think Jason was the one who brought your name, Drew, into the mix. Said, hey, this is a guy, and I'm like, I don't know him, but like if you say he's solid, like I'll go with it. And that birthed people wanting to do it again and again and again. And so we've just kind of always tried to take quantum leaps in the way that we put it together, so it's never the same, hopefully. And that's kind of where we're at.
How many years has this been going on? And we mentioned it first started in Austin. Now we're in Nashville. Where has it gone, and why do you guys move it around, and where is it going?
So it's 5 years, right? 17. A year we didn't really do it was 20, but we did do like a little retreat, but we haven't really counted that one. It's more like it's just a retreat. Places we've been, let's see. So Austin, Tampa. We did Scottsdale twice, mainly out of necessity last year, just because we didn't know what the world was going to look like. And we knew that place already could do what we needed it to do. And then Nashville's this year. Next year, we are still working things out there. But why we do it at these places, I think we're looking for like quirkiness. We're looking for funky. We're looking for places that are hopefully easily accessible to everybody. We want to give everybody an opportunity who's coming from different coasts. I mean, we've had people coming from Hawaii as an example, right? Well, them going all the way to the East Coast would be 4 days of their life pretty much gone. So like those guys only tend to come to the West Coast shows, or even Austin. One of them came to Austin, but we want to make sure we're giving people an opportunity to make it that, them going all the way across the country may not make sense for them. So that's part of the reason. Guys, do you have any other things to add as to why we picked those spots? Or
what I'll add to it is taking people out of their element. I think being somewhere you've never been, it's almost like DJing a costume party, right? Whenever Halloween, they're always the most epic, crazy parties because people are just out of their element. They're just not. It's not somewhere you're used to being, and you're able to just be present, I think.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I hate Nashville, and I'm looking to go to Nashville and love it. So that's one thing that I'm hoping to come from this too, is I want to leave going, man, I really like Nashville.
I don't know if that's going to really happen, but I can tell you like what will happen is, when I can speak for myself, like, and I've traveled all over this planet doing events for people and, seeing different cities, and you really just get like a small window of opportunity when you're in a market. But along my journey, I'm always inspired by different things. I'm inspired by things you see in the airport, things that you see on the road, whether it's the way their billboards read or the way the city looks or how hotels use lighting and all these like little things that you don't even sometimes you just walk right by and you don't even like look at. I'm like so conscious of all that stuff. And I think when you travel around to these markets that are, I don't want to say they're B markets, but they're not like a New York City or a Las Vegas that you're going to have a lot of other distractions. I mean, I love going to Vegas, but like when I go to Vegas, it's like you can't really turn off. And I'm not saying you can't turn off in Nashville, but like in Arizona, you know, we picked a place that had something to do at night if you wanted to go and do it, but it wasn't going to be like you're going to be out till 7 o'clock in the morning crushing, you know, whatever, you know, like because there's a business end to this too. And the whole experience, you know, like we don't start the days at like 8 o'clock, like some of the other events that are out there. And we don't go till 8 o'clock at night, but we, you know, try to cut it off at like 5 or 6, whatever. And then we have like events at night that we go to, but we try to like be mindful that to make it worth the investment, when you come back, you have to be able to learn and you have to be able to do some stuff. So I think having these like kind of like almost like B markets is a really, it helps us kind of keep everyone on the same train, so to speak. You know what I mean?
And also too, Jay, it allows us to push the investment further too. Like when people are investing into this, if we were in New York City or Miami or someplace like that, where it costs an arm and a leg just to stay one night, like the money that we're able to utilize for the experience goes so much further in those markets, is what we've learned.
You talk about events, and maybe you could talk about some of the DJs or these parties that you've done, these parties that we've done at night.
Real quick before we get into that, Drew, there's a video I want to play of a performance from one of the last DJCs. Are you cool if I play it real quick?
Yeah.
All right, here it is.
Classic.
Oh man.
Jan, I
Drew
crushed
Pierce edit.
that
The
performance.
Drew Pierce edit.
love
Smashed it. Sounded just like Robert Plant. Nailed it.
So if you guys could maybe talk about some of the performances besides Jan, I crushing that Zepp cover. Talk about some of the DJs that have played. If you have any teasers for somebody that might be playing coming up, if you can let any of that out, but at least talk about some of the events and parties that you had in the past and who's played, what level they can expect.
So years 1 and 2, we really didn't do an event. We kind of did learning, and you know, the conversations were really intense till 1, 2 a.m. I mean, people were sitting in the lobby with their computers, as you know, Drew, working out Serato issues and all these little things that we were working on. When we brought the party over to Scottsdale, I thought it would be important to do something like a VIP event. That's really just to show the people that are attending or joining us like some of the cool things that are possible. So what do we do that day in Scottsdale? The first party we threw, we had Scooter and Digital Dave and Angelo from the UK and Buck Rogers, right? So a little bit of everything. You had a scratch DJ, you had a finger drum DJ, you had remix DJ, and you had a scratch DJ that can do remixes, right? So you had kind of this like assortment of inspiration for people to have a good time. The feedback was super positive despite like the conditions. We were supposed to do a party out by the pool. Unfortunately, the weather never rains in Scottsdale except for the day that we were there, or the week that we were there. We pulled the party inside and we came up with a kind of like a boiler room style set where people could like literally come right up to the tables, and made it something really special. The next year we didn't meet. Last year we brought the party back to Scottsdale, and we did 2 parties last year. Both parties were very different, but we had ADMC, we had Caper, and then we had Jazzy Jeff perform on our VIP style event. Then we did an after party that had ADMC kind of like really let loose, and it was awesome. And then the next night we did kind of a rehash of the boiler room party with Scooter, Digital Dave, and then we brought Fat Man Scoop in to do like a surprise pop-up performance. And I think it was really cool that people could literally be in the same circle as him and just have him. He stayed, took pictures with people, met people, did drops for people. He really just, we helped flip it over. In terms of like this year, I don't think we can share anything just yet, but we are, I think the thing that I would say to anyone that's considering joining us is that everything that we've always tried to do is geared to inspire people in different ways, but it's also always trying to level up and shift. So we don't want to be predictable. We don't want to have the same thing always happening each and every year, but we want to continue to inspire people to really, really see what's possible and also see like world-class level entertainment perform in a more intimate setting. You know, we're going to have 150, 160 attendees this year. And to be one of that many and to be, you know, feet away from someone that is an icon in the industry, I think there's magic in that, you know, and it's something that I think has become now a staple into the way that we're going to be doing things moving forward, is just having some type of event that people can experience that really will inspire them to try to be better at the craft as a whole. And that's really what it's all geared towards.
Do you guys have like a favorite memory or a favorite thing that you've learned, you know, across since maybe when you started it to, you know, even the more recent ones? I know there's like epic pictures of Joe Bunn like humping a speaker somewhere that you know, I don't know if that's his favorite memory, but it's definitely captured.
I'm just I love the parties. I love to be able to see guys play and play in their element, you know, and not worry about is this going to work or not, and be able to explore and experiment and just know that every dropped song is going to get a reaction, you know, from us, from DJs. I mean, I couldn't possibly be more entertained than I am on those events and on those nights, no matter who it is, you know what I mean? And to me, it's just so refreshing to watch other DJs and not have to worry about playing, you know what I mean? And just let your hair or lack thereof down and have a good time. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not being hypercritical. I'm not standing in the corner with my arms folded across my chest, you know, waiting for them to mess up or, you know, trying to guess their next song. Like, it's not about that. It's just about, man, just be who you are and let the music like take over this party, you know, and let these guys or girls do what they do. And to me, that those are, you know, the high level or the highlights of my memories are the parties. But, you know, there's no way that I'm not going to sit in the back of those rooms and see the people that Brian has built these relationships with to come in and just drop absolute gold on this community, because you're not going to see them anywhere else unless you pay, I don't know, I would estimate $5,000 to $10,000 to go to another conference they're speaking at, you know, like an Engage, like a wedding conference. And then you got to be in, you know, Morocco or Dubai to see that, you know. So how much is that really going to take of your time and money? So we feel like the investment is worth it, you know, whether it's the parties, the education, whatever it is, building a network. It has truly been, you know, life-changing to people. I mean, you just heard Drew say it at the top of the show, and that is, we've gotten that more times than I can count. And to me, that is the highest compliment as a show producer that the three of us can possibly get.
Hey, I wanted to add on to that party that with Buck and Angelo. Little detail, Jan, I said everything's important, the lighting, all this stuff's important. I remember all of us standing there, and Jacob, Brian brought Jacob in, and there's, you know, these glow sticks everywhere, and all of us are going, what the fuck are these lights that is everywhere? And now all of us own them, and I swear it was only because of that party. No one had ever heard or seen of those, and it's blown up. Really, I think the Stereotubes has come from that party. I think it
definitely came from that year of that conference. 100%. Yeah. That's where I first saw him, got the price tag, was like, nope, hard pass. And then it ate at my soul until I started buying some. And I mean, you know,
what's crazy is earlier that year we were I had joined Brian at Engage. We played a party, and I think we were in the Bahamas, Brian, and that was the first time I ever saw those lights. And they had them like in centerpieces, and all, like there was like 500 of these lights everywhere. Jacob had built like a pyramid out of them at one place. They were using for activations like everywhere. Like, we were just talking, we're like, he's like, what do you think about Jacob doing lighting? And I'm like, can he bring those lights in? And like, literally he came in, and to this day, I mean, we've used the Astera tubes like at the last two events that we've done, right, Brian? I think that's, I don't know. I love what Joe said about just like seeing people, you know, like I was going to mention earlier when we talk about like what some things that happened, like Scoop came in the next day because he's like, I really want to see what you guys are doing here. And he sat in that room for like 3/4 of the day and would just sat there. I mean, this is like a dude who's traveled all over the world. He's done everything, you know, he's been around for a bit. And he just sat there like absorbing. So it doesn't matter if you're like newer to the business or you're a dinosaur in this business, you're super successful or you're trying to be successful. The content is really like universal in a way that like you can interpret it and apply it to your world no matter where you sit. And I think, you know, just watching Scoop receive that, and I sat next to him and he was just like, damn, like I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that. And I'm like, this is like, that's the point of this whole thing. You know what I mean? It's like there's always room to grow no matter where you sit on the bus. You know, there's always places to go in this business.
It was funny, like when you talked about the parties for a second, Joe, and seeing those DJs play, like pre-Twitch, pre-2020, you know, you'd never be able to see some of these people perform because you're always working, you're always doing stuff. And even with Twitch, like, you know, that's kind of playing to a different audience. Obviously, you're playing to people in their homes, not a party environment necessarily. So like, to get those opportunities, even, you know, as traveled as I am, there's people I haven't seen play before that I was like, man, getting a chance to get inspired by those folks is once in a lifetime kind of situation. And it's helped me improve my sets and the way that I look at events just in being able to see that. And I think it's kind of, there's not too many places where you can get that all at one time. You know what I mean? Where it's not just the relationships and the learning, but like all of it in one like 3-day span. That is super rare. Usually it's like you'll get one of the three. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But we really try to hit all the different things, and even like little things. Like I saw somebody this last year. One of the things we did was a paparazzi wall, and we had like, as you were entering one of the parties, we had some fake actors actually who were acting as photographers, and we were having them. They would register and get their band, you know, to go to this party. To give you an idea, Fuse, and we were radioing in like things to say to these people as they're coming in. So all the photographers are like, Fuse, I hear you got, you know, tell me about your chili out there, you know, just like random crap that people were saying. You're like, how does this guy know all this? Like, what was really cool was seeing some of these DJs going, you know, I would love to try, I might try to bring something in like that for my event or do a different spin on it. And like, that's the kind of inspiration. It's not just the DJing, but like anything associated with the things we touch, whether it's aesthetic or, you know, experiential or whatever, we're trying to push it forward and see how far we can go with it. And it's a good challenge because, you know, it's like, how can we up it from the year before when we drop in Scoop? It's like, okay, well, it's got to be bigger. It's got to be better. So how are we going to do that? And I love that challenge.
Yeah.
One of the things that I kind of want to say too, and one of my reasons kind of for really coming this year is, you know, I kind of was saying earlier that, you know, I see what people have done with their career, but not only that, like what you guys do with your career, you guys are all three always innovating and starting new trends almost, I feel. And because you're putting yourselves out there and you're putting this information out there and what you do with like the furniture booths and the lighting and all this stuff. And like you guys, it's almost like it pushes you guys to be more creative and innovative because there you are putting yourselves out there. And then everybody's like, I want to be like Brian. I want to be like Jason or Joe. And it pushes you guys to work harder and create that next big thing too. And the other thing that I tell guys too, that I've personally told people that, you know, I'm going to this event and they're like, yeah, but the investment and this and that. And I'm like, look, the investment is what it is. Like, if you want to invest in yourself, like what is your business and your career worth to you? Like, if it's not worth that amount of money to go put yourself in front of some of these people and other, you know, people such as yourselves and just other DJs that are doing big things within the community, you know, and I think that, you know, sometimes we assume that people know who everybody is. And like, I'll be like, oh, it's put on by Brian, Joe, and Jason. And they're like, well, who's that? And then I just pull up your guys' Instagrams and I'm like, look at these, go follow these guys and watch their post, watch the events they're doing. You know, like the post Brian put up the other day was just incredible of the event that, you know, he was at. And sometimes, you know, guys just don't know. And it's like you can hammer it and hammer it and hammer it. But if they just don't know, they don't know. So I think it's important to, you know, for you guys to be like on the show today and doing this with us because people are going to learn. And, you know, I'm kind of blabbing on, but there's,
no, but
I mean, it's a good thing.
But you're making a good point, right? I mean, I mean, everything you're saying is true, but you also have to realize that the value of you coming, the value of Drew Pierce coming, the value of Scooter coming. There's nobody in that room that doesn't have edits from all of you. Dude, when Randy met Scooter last year, you would have thought he was meeting Justin Timberlake. He fanboyed out. That's a grown ass man, 55 years old, been working for me for 20. Yeah, no, he's been working for me for 20 years, grown ass man. And he was like, Scooter. Gee, I mean, I was like, bro, calm down, man. It's just Scooter. Like, he's going crazy because
I was
Scooter
standing there and he
basically
pushed me out of the way.
Oh, he put Drew Pierce. Who are you? He kneed him in the balls and threw him to the ground and ran over to Scooter like it was Timberlake. And I was like, dude, this dude. And so you got to understand the value of having that kind of people as attendees and willing to make the investment. You know, like y'all had to pay too. Somebody emailed me yesterday. I was like, hey man, can you give me a ticket to the DJ Expo in Atlantic City? I was like, dude, I paid for a ticket. It was $200. What are you talking about? They were like, you have to pay to go to a conference. I was like, yes. And I just paid to go to Arizona to Beyond the Music. I didn't get comped on that trip. I paid for that too. I'm always going to be learning, just like I'm preaching to other people to always be learning. I take away something from every single thing I go to.
This podcast is not sponsored by DJ Collective.
You know what? One thing about DJs that I've learned over time, and I'm not saying this because it doesn't fit everyone, but a lot of DJs expect a lot out of an experience, but they're not willing to pay for it. They're looking for excellent service, but they're looking for the discount at the same time, right? And there's groups that I've been part of, and it's like, let's push them to like get the pricing as close to cost, but they expect it to be excellent. And I feel like it's so contradictory. And like the DJ world is an industry that I think is always looking to, it almost like holds back the industry from growing, right? Like, and I think like my personal quest is like, how do I inspire people to like just cut through the bullshit and like start pushing up people to do better? Like, I want Joe to be super successful. I want Brian to be super successful. I want Drew Pierce to be crushing it. I want to see you, Fuse, crushing the club, then going over to the whatever, doing the wedding, then going to the club. Like, I want to see people like explode through this industry. And where else can you go where you find people that are looking to help push you up? Where else can you go where you're one of 150 people sitting in front 3 feet away from Jazzy Jeff, watching him do his set? You know, like we attract people that are not just mobile DJs, right? Like when we were in Scottsdale, I reached out to Chris Villa. I'm like, Chris, you want to stop by and play? At the end of our first event in Scottsdale, him, Angelo, Dave, like everyone's like going back and forth, like with their scratch thing. Joe's humping Evolve 50s, like there's just a lot going on. I mean, like, just awesome. And like, that doesn't exist in our world. It just doesn't. Like, I don't know. In order to get something, sometimes you have to invest. It's not about like what you're spending, although it is a part of it. It's like what value is going to be presented. And like, you'll see in our returns every time, like people are coming back and back and back and back because they're gaining from it, you know?
We signed up the majority of the people for this year at the end of the last show. I mean, that just tells you. I was like, let's just open it up, tell people what we're doing. Did we even have the location? Yeah, we knew where we were going to be, I think. And that's about it. You know, it's just, even now, we haven't really told y'all who's going to be there or what's going to be there. And that just speaks to people believing in us. If you're going to make that kind of investment, and we are asking for this kind of investment, what is it, Brian? Around $3,000, right?
$3,100, I think.
Right. So we as a team, the three of us and the people that work with us are going to build a $30,000 experience for $3,000, put it that way. You know what I mean? We're not going to build the $179 conference where people may leave and go, I didn't get anything out of that. Well, man, listen, for $179, you probably did get something out of it. You know what I mean? For $3,000, you could possibly get your life changed. And if nothing else, you're going to meet the people that you want to be like. Brian has told me multiple times off recordings that he's heard in the past 2 years between Twitch and the DJC. I play 1,000 times better. I play a lot braver. I play a lot cleaner. I play a lot more exciting and diverse than I used to. You know, I mean, I would play damn near the same set every Saturday. You go out and you see a digital Dave or a Scooter play, you're gonna change the way you do shit, and it made me better.
I'm still trying to get you off. Don't stop that. Don't play that funky music, white boy. I'm trying to get.
I don't play that shit anymore. I don't play that shit anymore. I hadn't played Brick
I'm
House,
kidding
play
with
that
you. I
funky
know.
music. I don't play that shit anymore.
Trying to get
Got
that
me
play
mixed
count
up.
down. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's way down. I went back to 0 on it.
So if somebody wants to sign up, what do they need to do? Where can they go? How do they do it?
So we're running into like limitations on spots. We got less than 50 to go. So if you are at all on the fence, this would be the time to jump on it. So go to the website, the djcollectiveofficial.com. There's a tab. We're going to make a button because Joe wants a button and we want to make sure it's easy for people to find. But there's at the top says Nashville 2022. Click on that. That'll get you all the information. But
yeah,
we'll make it-
November 15th through the 17th, the djcollectiveofficial.com, the djcollectiveofficial.com, and make sure, man, you get signed up.
And check the Instagram too, because that's where we're dropping a lot of the content of things to come. So if you want to see that in the next couple weeks, start to see some things trickle out.
Yeah, and like if you're just hearing this for the first time and you're not familiar with it, this is not the type of experience where you're going to be like one of 1,500 people in an audience.
Mhm.
You're not going to be, rolling endlessly through a showroom floor, looking at everything, but not able to get anything, right? Like, and I'm not throwing shade at people that have that. That's not what it's about. We don't have a showroom floor. Like, yeah, we might have some sponsors that are available in the event that you have questions about the technology or the service or the product that they represent, but it's not something that you've experienced before. It's more like
if
chill.
you're coming to see some giant room full of gear and flashing lights and speakers and everybody trying to play louder than the next person, this ain't it. That's you got that chance in August at Atlantic City at the Hard Rock Hotel. I will see you there. Jason will probably be there as well. He lives right there in that state. I'm sure he'll come through. That's the spot for that. In fact, you can even buy from people and drive it home if you want, but that is not what we are doing in Nashville.
And we have some cool things lined up too. Bri, I don't know if we want to talk about like the +1s, right? Like,
Yeah,
I think that's part of this whole thing too. And just thinking outside the box for people that, have a significant person and they want to bring them along for the ride.
yeah. So just to expand on it real quick, if you have a significant other that you want to party with or whatever, we're going to have a party pass for that significant other so they can experience just that. And then they can be at the pool or go do whatever else during the day and just join you for that piece of it. The other thing I want to hit on too, Fuse, is you were talking about like what to expect as a first timer. We're trying to the last couple of years we've done this. It's been pretty awesome. We've called these folks ambassadors, DJC ambassadors. They basically are kind of like your go-to person for any questions you have about the show or like what you could expect with the experience and things like that. And so that allows you to kind of have like someone, I don't want to say holding your hand, but basically just walking you through like, hey, this is the day you need to be ready on the line to pick your things that you want to do. Because it's not just from the stage down. We also have things like where you get to pick the experience that you want as far as some of the learning sessions. So if you're like, man, I struggle at social media. I'm great at playing, but I suck at like marketing myself. You can be in that track all morning and just learn that. If you're on the other side of it and you're great at business, but you need help on the performance side, there's going to be opportunities for that. Last year, we introduced like master classes, which we're going to bring back. And then this year, we also have some experiences that are lined up for the different categories you are. So if you are a number 2 or you're a single op or you're a multi-op, there'll be opportunities where you'll be able to connect with just those folks that are going through some of the same challenges and, thrills of things that they're going through at the same time. You can kind of connect with those folks from the different markets to help you and grow. And that's been really helpful in the last 2 years. We've kind of always tweaked it in a way that is some familiarity, but there's going to be some things that are going to be new that will help you and pushing it forward.
Awesome. I'm really looking forward to come in and just kind of meeting and soaking it all in. The event side is something that, I don't do as much of as everybody else here, but I think there's a lot that I can learn from and even, get into more of if I want to. So I'm excited for all of that and to just, learn. I think that it's a good thing for any DJ that is serious about being a DJ for their career. I think it's good to come and surround yourself with like-minded people who want to push themselves further and do more.
And one thing I've noticed too is that it's a long game thing with this show. It's like you make those relationships initially. I have never seen a show where I've seen so much collaboration before between the attendees. People flying to like different places to work with different people. Like I until the DJC, I'd never seen that before ever. And in the last couple of shows I've seen,
I couldn't agree with Brian more, man. When I see pictures of two people literally from opposite ends of the country or different states that are like doing a show together, or I mean, even Drew, like you mentioned at the top of the show. I mean, you know, Drew and Brian's relationship over the last 3 conferences has grown exponentially to the point where, you know, Drew's out there 2 or 3 Saturdays a month sometimes in a location that Brian has booked a traditionally high end wedding or private event. And that came from that conference, you know, that came from the relationships and the network and the building. And yeah, when I see these pictures of DJs that are, you know, partnered up together doing shows in different markets than they're traditionally located, it makes me know that we are doing the right thing by putting this thing on every year.
I only send Drew to like destination hot spots, like, you know, French Lick, Indiana, and Laurel, Mississippi, and spots that he can just check off the bucket list, you know?
Yeah. He's getting around. He's a world traveler. He's a huge star.
Well, I just want to touch on this and we can move along, but someone that's coming to the show, I want you to really understand that a lot of these things come from the in-between the show, right? It's not Brian being on stage, Joe, Jani, any of the Jeff or any of that. This all came from just talking in the hallways. So those are just as important, that whole show, coming up and talking to anybody or stopping anybody in the hallways is invaluable. And with this small of a show, I don't, it's hard to do.
I mean, you get songs like song ideas like 3 times from shows like this. I mean, you don't get that anywhere else but like at the DJC, you know, those kind of conversations are just
I really don't hate that song. I gotta be honest. I don't get it. But hey, listen, also I will say this, and I've stood by this for you know, since we started this thing. I encourage people to never be intimidated, to never not want to meet your hero, right? I mean, I can't think of anybody that's ever come up to me and been like, man, I was so excited to meet, you know, Jason, and he was a dick. You know what I mean? Like, I know that there's that whole mentality about you're scared to meet your hero because what if they treat you like shit, or what if they don't want to listen to the problems you're having with your DJ business? I'm telling you, everybody at that show is wide open to tell you about their experiences, their pain points, how they've solved them, what records they're playing, what remixes, you know, are going over. It is one of the most open book communities I've ever seen. And I think that the beauty of keeping it sub 200 people is exactly that, because technically over 2-3 days you can talk to everybody. You can have a conversation with everybody there. It's probably going to be more like 160 or so, right, Brian?
Yeah, something like that. We've purposely not played any of these parties, you know, or even spoke on a stage, because we want to be accessible for people that want to be connected to somebody, not necessarily just to talk to us, but if they wanted to have the introduction, like we want to be able to host properly and make those connections for folks. So that's why we've kind of stayed out of that. And I feel like it's been helpful.
For sure.
One of our big things is we always talk travel tips. Maybe the people that are coming in, do they come in the day before? They talk about any of this stuff? Maybe all 3 of you guys can give your tips on when they should arrive, what they should bring, etc.
I think everyone should definitely come in the day before. I think the conversations start as soon as you arrive on site to the property. But the day before, we also this year are including the ability to attend some type of workshop experience. And we started that last year where, you know, like I could tell you myself, I did something with organizing like crate management and show run kind of like organization stuff. And I shared for 3 hours with 14 people, kind of like my ins and outs of how I use Serato to play my parties. And everyone there had their Serato out and we were like digging into real issues. I mean, that's something you would never be able to do. I don't have the time to do that with people like on that scale. And, you know, I think it was beneficial. And my personal kind of like little space was one of 8 or 9 different experiences that we had going on simultaneously. And we had, you know, Joe, we had Brian, we had someone talking about marketing. We had all these different things. And then, after you're all done, it's like, all right, cool. Let's go kick it and have dinner. Like everybody's kind of like eating together and, oh, let's go grab a drink real quick, not too crazy the first night, whatever. And like, that's like the relationship stuff that I think the power is so much more than just the content. And the content is all next level, but it's like the power in the DJC experience is like camaraderie and that like networking ability and the ability to sit down and like, I'm having a cup of coffee. You have a question, sit down. Let's chop it up real quick and like try to rush it real quick so that, that little conversation could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars of time, energy, and a mistake that, it took me 12 minutes to explain out to you and you just avoided like a headache that you never even saw coming. You know what I mean? And the whole conference is that for everyone.
I know I'm looking forward to people getting there the day early too, because we are introducing something new this year with our nonprofit that we're launching, which is basically putting on a DJ school for the inner city of Nashville. And we're basically going to have attendees, if they want to donate some gear that they're not using, that we're eventually going to, after the school happens that day, give it to those kids to be able to use. So if you have a controller you're not using, or maybe it's an old microphone that you just don't want to use anymore, not only do we have a vehicle for you to get a write-off and be able to do it that way, but you're taking care of a kid that couldn't ever afford this, that this could be their lifeline for, whatever, to move to a new stage of life through this. And Dan Quinn from Dallas, he does a DJ school. He's the one kind of heading that up, but I'm personally going to that and I can't wait to do that. So if you're looking to do something like that and have a heart for that kind of a thing, come in the day before, because that'll be in the afternoon sometime. And I can't wait to see what that world's going to be like when we open the doors with that.
What about leaving? What about, do they close out that night? Should they go the next morning?
So we've purposely every last day ended at 4:00. And we've done that purposefully with no activities afterwards, because we know it's a Thursday. People might be working on a Friday. We want you to be able to catch an evening flight. But also, if you can stay, I encourage it, because now you've had a chance to be divulged with so much like stuff, inundated with so many things over the course of 3 days, that you're allowed to kind of just breathe it out to somebody that's there and kind of just like share what you got from it, because everybody's in different learning sessions at different times. It's not like it's just one general floor where everybody's in the same thing. So you might get something from an Instagram course that you're like, oh my gosh, I never knew that. And someone else is in something about, Patreon, learning how the ins and outs of that. So like, it's cool to be able to like share those things that way. So to me, I would say if you can stay till Friday morning and then bounce out. But if you have a gig you got to get to, then leave Thursday night. But we purposefully keep that space there so that if people need to do that, and that's also why we don't start until Tuesday, technically, is because we know shows are crazy right now. People are working on Sundays, and we don't want you to have to feel like you got to miss a show to come to this. Like, we want you to be able to get here comfortably and be in the right headspace.
Awesome. I appreciate, you guys taking the time to be on the podcast with us today, and I'm excited to come to DJ Collective. And one more time, if anybody is listening wants to come to the DJ Collective, what's the website again where they can register?
The DJCollectiveofficial.com. The DJCollectiveofficial.com.
And we're still not sponsored by Liquid Death yet either, but we're working on it. So trying to get that sponsorship.
Oh, we'll talk to our people to see if they they can come on over.
Susan.
Hey, I just say, if you guys are on the fence, just go on the website, sign up now. Just go. Just pull the Band-Aid, sign up, and go. And
there's less than 50 spots available, so
that's
true.
They're
going to fill up quick, whether you decide you want to go or not. You might not be able to go if you don't go sign up now. So.
That's true.
And then you're going to see all these pictures in November of us all having fun in cowboy hats and sashes.
Yes, sashes. Yes. Shirtless, humping a speaker. Yeah, and you're going to be pissed off that you're not there. And Drew and Fuse are
right.
going to be there together. Like, imagine seeing them together, the same place at the same motherfucking time. I mean,
We need to get
that's
Paying for
bigger
our
than
own liquid
yeah.
death still.
That's like Tupac
Well,
and
you
Dre.
guys rock. If you guys aren't following, maybe give all 3 of your socials. And
DJ Brian B official is mine, and I'm on Instagram. That's probably the best place to connect with me.
At Joe Bunn on Instagram.
I'm at Jason Jani on Instagram. That's the best place for me.
well, you guys rock. Fuse, anything else? Is that it?
That's it. Well, until next time.
Thanks,
See you guys at the DJ Collective.
Damn right
Yeah,
you will.
that's right.
See you soon. Thanks, y'all.
Peace.
Thank you.